Sean does MMA, and we're going to be ranking the top 10 best MMA countries. And this will be based off the current rosters, not all time. So sorry, Canada, you guys don't get GSP. And with some fighters, Israel Adesanya, they rep multiple countries. You know, I'm just going to choose 4 of them. They're going to have one country and they can't be repeated. Honorable mentions that didn't make the list. We got New Zealand, China, Mexico, Canada, and Ireland. All right, number 10, coming in, barely making the list, we got France. And originally, I had Mexico ahead of them, but with Nasruddin Imavov making the top 5 of middleweight with that, you know, kind of questionable stoppage, I had to put them above, you know. Imavov's a solid top 5. You know, he looked really good against Cannonier. He didn't gas, which, you know, surprised me. I thought he was going to gas out. But I do think anybody in the top 3 starches him. You also got the former heavyweight champ Cyril Gane, who could be fighting for a belt in a month, you know, against Tom Aspinall, but he'd rather sit on his ass all day and play FIFA on the Xbox. And I think Gane's overrated, but the thing about Gane is he would run circles around everyone outside of the top 5 and just absolutely destroy them. But I wouldn't pick him against Jones, Aspinall, Pavlovich, or even Blades. But so at the end of the day, you know, he's still an elite heavyweight ranked within the top 3, so you gotta give him some respect. You also have Benoit Saint-Denis, who put up a good fight versus Poirier, and yes, I'm aware he had staff, but still, regardless, Poirier, I think, would have knocked him out. BSD's just way too sloppy on the feet, bro. Leaves his chin up in there all the time. But outside of Poirier, Benoit was just running through guys, making him look easy, so it's still a good pick. You know, it's a good guy to have to round out your list. And to finish it off, you have Fares Ziam, who's a lightweight. He's 5-2 in the UFC. And the reason why you've probably never heard of him is because he barely fights once a year, you know what I mean? He joined the UFC all the way in 2019. Despite having 5 wins, he's not very good. All 5 of them were decisions, and they're boring-ass fights. All right, coming at number 9 for real, we have Polska, Poland. Obviously, you got the old man legend in Jan Blachowicz, you know, former champ, beat some legends like Izzy. And then since then, he's only lost to Pereira and Glover Teixeira. He's still a top 5 light heavyweight and is 1 win away from challenging the winner of Ankalaev and Pereira. You know what I mean? This guy really hasn't lost much. To partner up with him, you have Mateus Skamrot, who I think is extremely overrated. I think Charles starches him. But whether I like him or not, doesn't really matter. He's still a top 5 in lightweight, which is the best weight class in the whole world, which means a fucking lot, to be honest. Go up some weight classes, you have the fat man Marcin Tybura, who's a top 10 heavyweight and showed that Tai Tuivasa should have never fought for a title shot. You know, he's a pretty solid heavyweight. Definition of like well-rounded, I'd say. Not really too good at anything, not horrible at anything. Like, I think he'll live in the top 10, but I don't think he'll ever break into the top 5. And to finish it off, you got Marcin Pracino, who's basically a can. He went 4-5 in his UFC career, and he's fought some tough guys. Like, he fought Ankalaev, but even then, kind of just sucks. Just throwing him on the list, add another name. But a common theme throughout these countries ranked outside of the top 5 is they just lack the depth, you know what I mean? Like, for example, Poland only has 4 fighters. And so while they do have some good ones, I still got to rank them at number 9 because of that. Number 8, we got South Africa, and I'll just say right now, Dricus du Plessis might need a massage, might need a little bath with Epsom salts because he's putting the whole of South Africa on his back, bro, a whole country. And I know some people might think this South Africa placement at number 8 is too high, but I mean, at the end of the day, every country with a champion is on this list somewhere. And it totally makes sense because if you were to sit down and ask a dude from like whatever country, let's just take fucking Singapore. If you asked a dude from Singapore, would you rather have 1 champion from Singapore or 3 guys who are barely ranked? Obviously, he's going to fucking pick the champion. So you got DDP, who I thought, you know, beat Strickland. Regardless if you disagree, it was still neck and neck, which means he's on the level of Strickland, who's the champion. But even forgetting that, you know, a guy like Robert Whittaker, all-time legend, former champion, you know what I mean? He victimized and bounced his head off the canvas, knocked him out. Dricus is undefeated in the UFC, being 7-0 with 5 finishes. And I think he's going to continue that when he ends up fighting Izzy. But besides Dricus, you have Cameron Simon, who's not a bad bantamweight contender, I guess. He's 4-2 in the UFC, and he lost his last 2. But one of them was to Peyton Talbot, you know, highly ranked prospect. Guys like Lucas Tracy swear he's the next Mighty Mouse. He's like the real Sugar Sean O'Malley or whatever the fuck. So that's not a bad loss, I guess. In that fight, ate a massive knee, showed he had a good chin. I think he's got some potential. Definitely will crack the top 10 in my belief. And as far as my research tells me, that's it. They only have 2 fucking fighters in the UFC. So obviously extremely lacking in quantity, but, you know, makes up in quality. Not really from Cameron Simon, really just from Dricus. You know, it's basically just because they have a champ. All right, number 7, we got Nigeria. And even though I could put Israel Adesanya for fucking 70 different countries, you know what I mean? Like, spin a wheel, take your pick. I had to choose one so this list wasn't all weird, and I'm going to put him here. Especially after the whole thing with Dricus, him being the African champ. I don't know how I couldn't put him here. He's a long-time champ, and even though he doesn't deserve it, he will be fighting Dricus du Plessis for the belt, and he's still a top 5 middleweight for sure. I already say Izzy's overrated, but obviously if you fought anybody basically outside of the top 5 for the most part, he'd completely starch them. So he's still good. I just don't think he's like championship material anymore. So that's a really solid one to have on your list. And to pair that, we have Marty from Nebraska, who's really a fucking American. I'm not even going to get into that. But so you have Kamaru Usman, former really dominant champ, has only lost to the best of the best. You know, he lost to Leon Edwards and Colby Covington in the second fight. Yeah, I think Colby won that fight. But even then, don't think I hate Kamaru Usman. I wish he was the champ to Leon. I hate Leon 100 times more. And to give Usman some credit he doesn't get, in my opinion, he beat Hamza in the recent fight. Like, Usman's still up there in his prime. He's only lost, you know what I mean, to the best of the best. And he's one good win away from a welterweight or even maybe a middleweight title shot. You know, he joins Max Holloway and one of those few guys that really, you know, can do whatever he wants at whatever weight class, I'd say. Obviously not to Max's level because Max has a title shot booked, but you get what I'm saying. To round it out, you also have Sadiq Youssef, who, despite getting ran through recently on UFC 300 by Diego Lopez, you know, he's still a decent prospect. I mean, I think Lopez definitely could become champ, so there's no shame to losing to him. I think everyone's going to lose to him. Good lightweight, adding some depth, you know what I mean? And I guess I could throw Kamaru Usman's fat heavyweight brother in there, but he sucks so bad I'm not even going to talk about him, to be honest. You know, 2 out of the 4 Nigerians are top 15 fighters of all time, legends. Some, even though they shouldn't, say they're the ghosts of their weight class. Even though I'm not sure how you can have Usman over GSP all the time, but that's besides the point. Really, really, really good fighters, just not enough of them. And for half the list, you know what I mean? You could argue he shouldn't even be here. He's a Chinese, he's New Zealand, he's this, he's that, whatever. He's Nigerian for this list. Number 6, we got Sakartwillo. I think I'm saying that right. Or better known as Georgia. Obviously, we got the man, the myth himself, the legend, the guy who made me want to kill myself in Ilia Topuria when he sent Volk into another dimension. You know, I'm half Spanish. My whole dad's side's from Zaragoza. So, like, I know firsthand that Ilia really should be Spanish. You know, he's best friends with Sergio Ramos. You know what I'm saying? He's going to Real Madrid's games. He grew up in Spain. And, like, I take pride in knowing that he's a Spanish champion. But despite all that, for just the sake of simplicity and making this list easier, I'm putting him as Georgian. And I know he's Georgian, too. I know he's born there. I know he reps that. But Georgia should be getting half of Ilia, but whatever. We'll just give him the full, whatever. You know, guy who's just ran through every single person he's fought. One of the few undefeated fighters, you know what I'm saying? The dude's got hella aura right now. I think he beats Max Holloway if they fight right now. Super well-rounded, great jiu-jitsu, you know what I'm saying? Good Greco-Roman wrestling, and obviously his hands, bro, just got pure dynamite in those bitches. This with Merab, who's obviously an absolute beast, and I think he will beat O'Malley when they fight and become the bantamweight champ. Like, you have Merab, who's obviously the most fucking freak of nature, gas tank of my life, can just shoot takedowns for 25 minutes straight, doesn't get dissuaded at all, doesn't give a fuck. He's looking great, ran through basically every guy he's fought, even Peter Yan, who's like one of the best bantamweights ever, just ran through him easy. So just in the Georgian duo of Ilia Topuria and Merab, you have a champion who just beat one of the greatest fighters of all time. And you have a number 1 contender, believe will become champion. I mean, that's fucking nuts. And after this, it falls off considerably, but there's still some filler fighters. You know, you got Chikadze, who's still a top 10 featherweight in 145, which is a great division, you know what I'm saying? Elite division. Outside 155, it's the best. And you also have Roman Dolidze, who's holding on to that number 10 ranking for dear life, but at middleweight. So 2 solid, you know, top 10 guys, definitely ranked, deserve to be ranked. And outside of that, the only guy I can think of is Garam, who I'm pretty sure hasn't even won since like 2020. He came back recently, lost his 2 fights. That one's nothing impressive, but you know what I'm saying? Just add to the list, add to the numbers. And one that I'm actually, you know, curious to see. I don't know if a lot of you guys know, but the UFC has actually signed Ilia Topuria's brother, who is Alexandre Topuria. But he hasn't even fought in the UFC yet, and I haven't bothered to watch whatever fucking can organization he fights in, like tape. So I don't know if he's good. He's probably just going to be good just because his brother's good. Basically, that's fuck all. And as you see, once we get further up the list, you know, Georgia starts to get that real good mix of elite talent and decent depth, you know what I'm saying? Number 5, it's going to be the land down under Australia. While they have no champs anymore, they still got top contenders and former champs, you know what I'm saying? Obviously, you have the featherweight GOAT, Alexander Volkanovski, who by himself would have put Australia on this list, but he's got some help, so they'll make the top 5. Notably, you got Bobby Knuckles, you know what I'm saying? Former middleweight champ and a legend who's a fight away from a title shot with that win over Paulo Costa. And if he beats Hamza, which I think is a really tough fight, and I think Hamza's going to win, but if he does beat Hamza, undeniably he's going to get a title shot after Strickland. Like, I don't know how it's going to play out, but Strickland's going to get his title shot against Adesanya or Duplessis, and then Robert Whittaker's getting the next one. I don't know how you can really deny him. You also got Jack Della Maddalena, who got clutched up a KO over a top guy in Gilbert Burns, and is going to likely fight Shavkat for a title shot. I actually hated JDM because I always thought he was overrated, and I kept getting mad that he wasn't overrated, and he kept proving himself. But, you know, this dude got complete respect after you call out Shavkat. How are you going to call out the guy who's 18-0 with 18 finishes and just looks like a beast and is going to be the future champ of the division? Like, respect for that. Not to mention, recently you have Steve Erceg, who probably should be the flyweight champion right now. And even though he's technically ranked number 10, everyone and their mom knows he should be ranked top 3 and 100% top 5. Took Pantoja to fucking war. And, you know, after that, you have some cans, like all the fat boys like Tai Tuivasa, Justin, Junior Tafa, you know, some other guys that I'm not really going to mention. But this is what makes Australia get in the top 5. You have 4 guys who have realistic shots at being a champ relatively soon. Those being Ursig at 125, Volk at 145, JDM at 170, and Robert Whitaker at 185. Will any of these dudes become champ? Maybe. But even not, having 4 different guys in all different weight classes to have a chance to become a champion is just nuts. And the jump from Georgia at number 6 to number 5 Australia, you can already tell right now, it starts to get serious. Number 4 is going to be England. Not only do they have Leon Edwards, who's a dominant champion and is top 3 on the pound for pound list, they also have Tom Aspinall, who's an interim champ. And in mine, many other eyes would be the champion if given the opportunity to fight John Jones. I think Aspinall goes out there and fucks Jones up, but I guess we will never know because Jones is ducking. Anyway, enough of that tangent. They basically have 2 champions, which is seriously impressive. You know what I'm saying? And 2 like elite champions at that. The UK's problem and why they're definitely not cracking the top 3 is they aren't particularly deep with talent. And you have a guy like Arnold Allen, who I think was robbed, Mosfar Evloev, and therefore should be top 5 at 145. You know what I'm saying? Arnold Allen's good. He can give people a run for their money. And you also have Muhammad Makayev, who, while he is boring as shit and I don't want him fighting for a title, I can't deny that he's basically right around that top 5 for flyweight, you know what I'm saying? So you got 2 champs, 2 top 5 guys, and then and then you have a guy who, to be fair, is barely ranked at Michael Venom Page, but is still, a ranked fighter, which is always good. But after this, it drops all the way to fucking unranked fraudsters like Paddy Pimblett and stuff. So I'm not even gonna mention those dudes, because once we start getting to these bigger countries, it would just take me forever to name all these unranked cans from these big countries. So I'll just leave it at that. And while Australia definitely has better depth, UK having 2 champs, I mean, can't beat that. But because of that lack of depth, you know what I'm saying? Not enough to crack the top 3. Coming in at number 3, we have Russia. And I can't believe I have to put this, I swear to God I can't. Because some people don't know, yes, Dagestan is a part of Russia, and no, it's not its own country, regardless if it has its own culture or whatever. That's just not how that shit works. I see that a ton online. But to kick it off, you have the number 1 pound for pound best fighter on the planet and one of the greatest fighters of all time in Islam Makhachev. Just tied Khabib for the lightweight defense record, just surpassed the lightweight win record. In my opinion, is the lightweight GOAT. And it's just looking like an absolute beast. I mean, what else can you say about fucking Islam Makhachev? While Russia has no other champs, it has plenty of top, and I mean top contenders. Like, for example, let's start with Magomed Ankalaev, who deserves a title shot against Alex Pereira, because I believe he beat Jan Blachowicz when they fought. I thought he got robbed. And then since then, all he's done is beat a guy, so it's like, why wouldn't he get the title shot? Besides, if this dipshit only wants to fight in Abu Dhabi, I hope that doesn't happen. I want to see Pereira and Ankalaev. And this is definitely going to be Alex Pereira's hardest matchup by far at light heavyweight, and I'd still pick Alex, but regardless, Magomed Ankalaev is a serious threat to him. You also have a guy like Petr Yan, who outside of that Merab fight has never been comfortably beaten in his whole career. In that first Aljo fight, he won. Everyone knows it's it's a loss on the books, but everyone with a brain knows he won. In that second fight, I had Aljo. A lot of people had a Petr Yan. And then in that O'Malley fight, a lot of people, including myself, had Petr Yan winning that, which basically would make him right in that championship title picture again. Coming off that good win over Song Yadong, he's a fight outside of that championship. And one that a lot of people I feel like just forget is Sergey Pavlovich, who is 1 win away from a title shot. You know what I'm saying? He was fighting for the interim belt, lost to just an absolute monster in Tom Aspinall. Pavlovich has said he's down to fight Gon. Gon's just a pussy. He won't fight him. But I believe this is not the last time we'll see Pavlovich fight for a belt. So shout out him. I feel like that dude's super underrated these days. And there's some other top 5 solid guys. You have Mosfar Evloev, who is boring as shit and not that good, but still good enough to smudge Arnold Allen to a robbery victory. But still, you know what I'm saying? He's still a good fighter. I don't know what the fuck I'm even saying. And you also have Alexander Volkov, you know what I'm saying? Good gatekeeper for that top 5. He's a G. And even then, you have a guy like Umar Nurmagomedov, who's top 10. But with a win over Sandhagen, that would put him right into title contention. And even then, everyone knows he's better than a top 10, even if he loses to Sandhagen. I know you guys might hate Russia and all these Dagestanis, but it's can you sit there and really tell me that Umar Nurmagomedov is going to lose to Rob Font? No, you can't. Come on now, stop kidding yourself. And Russia's very deep in the UFC. They have tons of unranked and fringe ranked fighters that I'm not going to cover for the sake of this, because you're going to see with these next 2, there's just going to be so many fighters, it would take me all day. Russia has an elite mix of depth and skill. Coming in at number 2, we have Brazil. And the reason why Brazil ranks above Russia is while Russia is right there with talent, Brazil is even deeper. You know what I'm saying? To start it off, you have 2 dominant champs with Alexandre Pantoja and Alex Pereira, with each of them sporting multiple title defenses. Pereira's looked like an absolute world beater, basically has ran through everyone in this new division. And while I think Ankalaev would give him a tough fight, I'm not picking anyone over Pereira in that division. And while Pantoja might, you know, I'll just say he probably did lose to Seaver, even though I love Pantoja, so I'll just say he did. Outside of that one fight with Erza, completely dominated people, you know what I'm saying? Literally went out there and made Royval look like he was a fucking toddler, made him look like he was a little kid. Well, Brazil's depth is just ridiculous, you know what I'm saying? You have guys like Charles Oliveira who are still right there in a title picture, one win away, you know what I'm saying? Like a lot of people think he beat Arman. I don't think so, but you can make an argument with the submissions and bullshit. But regardless, Charles Oliveira is always in that title fix. You know, you gotta have a guy like Figgy, you know what I'm saying, with one win over Cheeto, he's probably gonna be right in that title mix. And you have solid middle of the pack guys, you know what I'm saying? Paulo Costa, who's lost a lot recently, but at the same time, it's like when you're losing to Robert Whitaker, to Sean Strickland, to the top of the top guys, they're not the worst loss. He's still a good middle of the pack, solid guy. You have Gilbert Burns, who also just lost to JDM, Jack Daniel Madalena. But then at the same time, a lot of people are saying JDM could beat Shavkat, so no shame in losing. Jailton Almeida, who will be a top 5 heavyweight for sure, you know what I'm saying? Just expose that fat son of a bitch. And for the most part, is dominant. I don't know where this shit, well, I know where it came. It came from the Derek Lewis fight. But Jailton Almeida isn't a boring fighter at all. Like, all of his fights, besides that Derek Lewis fight, ended in finishes, you know what I'm saying? Like, and he's not a fat heavyweight. He's really athletic, so it's like, I'm always rooting for this guy, but he's good. And speaking of another guy, I'm always rooting for Johnny Walker, you know what I'm saying? Solid top 10 light heavyweight, lost to some good people. Really weird fighter, fluky as fuck. But besides those middle of the pack guys, you have future contenders, and I mean future contenders who I believe could both become champions. And Diego Lopez, who's just a fucking wizard, bro, absolute beast, dog. And Kyle Marlhawa, whatever the fuck the dude's name is, the fighting nerds guy. That dude's good. He's well-rounded, good on the ground, good off his back, decent striking, you know what I'm saying? Fun dude. Y'all are just gonna have to take my word, but Brazil's depth is deep. Out of the ranked fighters, I'm pretty sure they have 18 out of the 120 ranked men's fighters. Compared to Russia, who's at number 3, they only got 10, you know what I'm saying? So Brazil definitely has the depth. Number 1, you all knew it was coming. Not only just the greatest country to ever exist, it is the greatest country of MMA by far, and it's not even close. And you're right, that is the United States of America themselves. You know what I'm saying? The USA just reigns king through MMA. The US just has an unbeatable mix of quality and quantity. Like, to start off, we have John Jones, who I'm aware is ducking Tom Aspinall, but regardless of that, he is the consensus GOAT of the sport and would murder every other heavyweight in the first round. I mean, you saw what he did with Gane. He fucking took him down, ragdolled him, subbed him in the first. Compare that champ with another champion, you know what I'm saying? You have a good champion in Sean O'Malley, who for all intents and purposes is undefeated. Yes, that first fight with Cheeto was a fucking obviously fluke. He proved that shit in the rematch. Has a win over Aljo, who a lot of people, including me, think is the bantamweight GOAT. Some people think Cruz. Fair enough. But regardless, very, very good win. You have Max Holloway, who realistically could have a title shot in the 2 most stacked divisions, those being 145 and 155. Since he dominates every dude at 145 and just starts the number 1 contender in Gaethje at 155. And Sean Strickland, who you could argue should still be the champ, and if not, he is clearly and obviously the most deserving of another title shot, and he will get one after this DDP Adesanya matchup. You also have guys who were so close to becoming champions and are still elite, you know, Colby Covington, Justin Gaethje, Dustin Poirier. You also have guys that could easily enter the title picture with another win or even become champions soon, like Royval, Jamal Hill, Curtis Blades even. But the thing that makes the US so good is just the insane depth. I mean, 5 out of the 15 fighters on the pound for pound list are American. Those being John Jones, Sean O'Malley, Max Holloway, Sean Strickland, and Aljamain Sterling. And yes, I'm going to claim fucking Aljo. We are claiming Aljo. He was born in New York City, grew up there. It's fine if he wants to rep the Jamaican flag every once in a while, put that on his little banner, but he's definitely American, and he has said so before that he is an American. He just also has Jamaican roots or whatever. Fuck that, we get Aljo, it's bullshit. Like, the US has 5 out of the 15 fighters on the pound for pound list. Second closest is Brazil with 3 out of the 15. So it's not just, we don't just have depth in cans, we have depth in the best too. But we definitely got depth in cans. And I'm putting cans in very much quotations. I'm still talking about ranked fighters, but you know, a number 15th ranked fighter when you're talking about pound for pound comparison is kind of can. There's also at least 1 American in the top 5 of every single division, which also means, you know what I'm saying, realistically, an American is 1 or 2 fights away from becoming a champion in every single division. But this in perspective, 15 out of the 120 ranked fighters are American. Here's a pie chart of that, and as you'll see, Brazil is the second with 18 out of 120 ranked fighters, meaning the US has more than 3 times as many ranked fighters as the second leading country. Like, the gap between the US and Brazil, or the US and Russia, or the US and every other fucking country combined is just insane, bro. Like, there's so many good names that I'm just not going to cover. For example, like, one off the top of my head, Corey Sandhagen, a win away from a title shot. A lot of people think if he beats Umar, he's get that title shot. I can't talk about them because there were so many good American fighters, bro. It's like, it's every fighter, bro. Like, American fighters are so ingrained in the UFC. Like, you assume a fighter is American unless someone tells you otherwise. Like, you see a flag or his name some bullshit like Umar Nurmagomedov. Like, there's so many American fighters, you just assume that the guy will be American, you know what I'm saying? So I will be doing zero arguments in the comment section. The US is obviously number one. It's clear they're clear in skill, they're clear in they're clear in dominance, and obviously the biggest one, they're clear in just quantity. There's so many American fighters who are elite, who aren't elite. America just dominates MMA, which will make some Russian, some Brazilian little geeks mad, but it is what it is. That was the list. Thank you so much for watching. It's Jonathan's MMA. Sorry I've been slacking on the uploads, man. Seriously, my bad. I need to get in my bag, and trust me, I will be doing that shortly. So expect more uploads. Comment what you want to know for the videos, and see you until next time. Thank you so much.